Welcome into Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name is Matt.
And my name is Dyl, and today we have another draft. I walked away with another W last week. This is a 2-week win streak for your man Dyl, and I'm really excited to have the number 1 overall pick this week for our M. Night Shyamalan draft. He has 11 movies he's directed. He's even written some movies out there too that he didn't direct. Honestly, he's got a lot of things you could take number 1 overall. I could go with my personal favorite. I could go with the hot new thing on the block. But I got to think about the masses here. And the masses would all go with one pick here. And I really do like this movie. It just wouldn't be my number 1. But I have to go with the original The Sixth Sense.
Yeah, see, you say that there's a lot of choices you could go with for number 1. I was actually resisting doing the M. Night draft for a little bit. Mostly because I was like, there's a game breaker in this. I feel like whoever gets The Sixth Sense wins the game. So
see, I would fight back on that. I know I have it. I know I have it, but I would fight back on that. I don't think that's his best movie. I wouldn't personally put it in his top 3. I really like some of his movies, but I know a lot of people don't. But I'm really excited to see what you're going to take here with number 2 and 3.
So I'm going to give some background. I'm not very familiar with M. Night Shyamalan. I have only seen 4 or 5 of his movies. I've only seen The Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, Split, and then I just checked out Knock at the Cabin, and I've also seen Old, so I've seen 5. I haven't even seen Signs, but that brings me to my first pick, Signs, which I hear is pretty good, but I don't know. Mel Gibson,
it is.
Water Demons, I know the twists to these movies, I just don't know the movies. And you know what? I'm going to have to take another classic. This one I have seen. I really like it. The original superhero grounded origin story, Unbreakable. The thing that I find really special about this movie is that it does the superhero story, it does this whole origin story thing without sensationalizing it. You know, it's really grounded. It actually feels like how a superhero story would play out in the real world.
I mean, those are 2 great picks. Signs is one I appreciate more than I like.
I'm glad to hear they're great picks because I haven't seen Signs. I don't know if that's a good pick.
A lot of people like Signs. My grandma, who I see a lot of movies with, she thinks Signs is Shyamalan's best movie because I actually just watched my next pick with her the other day, and that was Knock at the Cabin. And I said, hey, I think this is my new favorite Shyamalan movie. She's like, no, it's good, but it's no Signs. Knock at the Cabin just really delivers on a lot. I think this is one of his best acted movies, which is maybe
Thank you
a low
to Dave
bar.
Bautista.
It may be a low bar to clear for a Shyamalan movie. That's usually not what you come to his movies for. But I think the whole ensemble here is good. Not just Bautista, but both of the actors that play the dads and the rest of the, we'll call them knockers. And even the little girl, too, who's playing the daughter, is great in this movie. And it moves at a fast speed. This movie's insanely well-paced. You get into it within 5 minutes. And for the next hour and a half, you're gripped to your screen, whether you're watching this at home or whether you're watching this in a theater. But to pair that with the movie I said a few weeks ago on this show was my favorite Shyamalan movie and the movie I took number 1 overall in our January draft, and that was Split. This nails everything that you want about a Shyamalan movie. It has the twist. It has the suspense. It has one very showy acting performance. Whatever you want to say about any Shyamalan movie, there's at least one performance that you remember from that movie. Doesn't mean it's a good performance like in The Happening or The Last Airbender or After Earth, but Split has a very good one from James McAvoy. Yes, Jaden Smith. Huh? Dad? Split, very good. It has the twist. It has the connections to some other Shyamalan movies like Unbreakable, and it's just a very good, you can throw this movie on and not really think too much about it later, but you're going to have a blast while watching it.
I got to say, I'd agree that from what I've seen, again, I haven't seen many, but Knock at the Cabin, probably might be my favorite of his movies. It's up there between that and The Sixth Sense right now. And Split, of course, I mean, James McAvoy delivers a killer performance. For my next pick, I'm going to pick The Last Airbender. I'm not going to pick that. I hear that one's great, though. I haven't seen it, but I've heard nothing but good things.
I have seen it.
Oh, rip. So for my next pick, I'm going to pick another one that I have not seen, but one that I hear has mixed opinions about it. From the sound of it, it sounds pretty cool. The twist seems good. Again, it's been spoiled for me, so The Village. That's one that I have heard a lot of mixed opinions on. I hear a lot of people saying it's one of his very best. I hear a lot of people saying it's the beginning of the end for his career. But overall, it's one that I'm very intrigued by. As someone who has not seen this film, I really like the story of it.
Okay.
And I know nothing more about it, so I'm going to just stick with that one and say, hopefully, that was a good pick. I know it's one of his most popular, so that's why I'm going with it here. So I'm going to go with another one that I have seen. Now, this one I think is a mixed bag. There's some good parts, there's some bad parts, but the thing that brings me back to this film is the concept. In fact, I was actually working on a story with the exact same concept until I learned about Old. You know, is the execution great? I'm not 100% on that, but the idea of people losing time rapidly, that hits hard for me. I don't know. Time scares me. Time is something that frightens me. And so to use time in a horror story to show time rapidly and uncontrollably moving, I think that's a really fascinating idea. And I think in the hands of like a Charlie Kaufman, it could have been like an absolute masterpiece. I mean, that's basically what I'm thinking of ending things is. In the hands of M. Night Shyamalan, it's just a fun horror movie with a really killer concept.
Gosh, there's just so many great line readings from Old. Like when you're talking about, I just had to pull up quotes from the movie because there's so many just amazing one-liners that they're not good, but they're so bad they are good. Like, we have to leave this beach. I think this beach is making us old. Like, no shit, it's making you old. I don't know. There's a lot of things you can say about Shyamalan's movies, and the scripts, they're not always the best part. And you can really say that about Old, but you talked about The Village before, and The Village is what a lot of people will say is the switch between old Shyamalan to bad Shyamalan. But I'm a big believer that Shyamalan is now good again. And it happened with the release of this movie.
I knew you were going to pick this.
And that is The Visit. Because from The Visit onwards, I've loved every one of his movies. Are they great movies? No. Like, Old is not a great movie. But Old's a movie that knows what it is, and it delivers. So I'm giving you some brownie points there with Old. But The Visit does that as well. And I think The Visit does it a little bit better because The Visit is a good movie. Just like Split, just like Knock at the Cabin, and just like the other one I'm going to pick. Because this one has a lot of detractors, but I can say at least it is not awfully made, because After Earth is awfully made. No matter how much I love myself some Will and Jaden Smith, The Last Airbender almost ruined his whole career. Like, I went in as a 10-year-old or 11-year-old kid, however old I was, and I was like, this movie is awful. What kid goes into a movie thinking it's awful? And then I'm not even gonna like bother to talk about Lady in the Water. That's the worst offender of any movie, because unlike the rest of these, they're just bad. Lady in the Water is boring and bad. And then The Happening has just a weird Mark Wahlberg performance and just a very bad and poor concept. So that leaves me with one movie, and this movie is not good, but this movie at least serves a purpose, and that's a conclusion of a trilogy. So give me Glass.
Dude, okay, just on the Lady in the Water, just one point on that. I had an English teacher in high school who used to play that movie for students as an example of how not to write a story.
Yeah,
he would play it every year and hate watch it with his class to dissect he would pause the movie after certain lines, after certain story beats, and be like, this is why this is just the stupidest thing ever written.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. We're to the point. This is why I fought for the M. Night Shyamalan draft, because obviously Sixth Sense, Signs, Unbreakable, Knock at the Cabin, Split, those are all movies that most people like, if not love. And then you hit the second half of the draft, and that's where it's just a bunch of shit. And you have to figure out, do you want the good shit, the bad shit, the weird shit, the crazy shit? So I really want to see where to conclude with, because we have 4 movies that he directed that are pretty out there. But because this is a kooky draft, there are a few other options out there.
We were chatting online, and you called me on this. You knew what I was going to do for my last
Yes,
pick.
I did.
Because I'm going off of films he's directed. Because, like I said, I've only seen 5 of the films he's directed. And you picked The Visit there. I might have picked that one if I had seen it, because I've heard good things. Although I haven't seen it because it just looks like a Hansel and Gretel remake to me. Like, I don't know anything about it, but it just gives me Hansel and Gretel vibes. So the movie I'm going to pick is one that I have seen, one that I think is a childhood classic, one with Matthew Broderick, Nathan Lane playing anthropomorphic animals. And I gotta go with my man, Stuart Little, which I still can't believe is written by M. Night Shyamalan.
There's no twist.
Fantastic
We're going
trivia.
on. There's no twist.
No, the twist is that it's written by M. Night Shyamalan. That's the twist.
Fair enough. I guess the twist is that a little mouse can speak. That is quite the twist.
No, but Stuart Little, that was a movie that I watched the crap out of as a kid. It was one that I haven't seen it since I was like probably 5 or 6 years old. But I still remember there's a scene where Snowball the cat is like watching the washing machine go around, and like I think Stuart's inside the washing machine and it's filling up, and oh my god, that scared the crap out of me every single time I watched it as a kid. That's scarier than anything in any of M. Night Shyamalan's movies. That scene where the mouse is slowly drowning in a washing machine. Incredible. That's cinema right there.
I mean, if you want to talk about drowning in cinema, just go to the comment section of any video talking about Glass, and they'll just say, "This ruins cinema. How can you end a series like this?" You haven't seen Glass, so you don't know what I'm talking about. But everyone out there who's yelling at me for picking Glass, I don't care. Give your vote to Matt. I like the ending.
Give it to me. I
don't care.
Stuart Little. That is the trump card of this game. Sixth Sense? No. Stuart Little.
To regroup our wacky, crazy, and just, unorthodox M. Night Shyamalan draft, I kicked things off with The Sixth Sense and paired it with.
And I went with Signs, which I haven't seen, Unbreakable, which I have seen, The Village, which I haven't seen, Old, which I have seen, and Stuart Little, which is ingrained in my brain. I don't have to see it. It's just with me always.
So if you made it this far in the video, please go to our YouTube community tab and vote in the poll here, because, this is a very divisive draft, I think. Obviously, you could say maybe Sixth Sense is a trump card, but with Shyamalan movies, I don't think anything is, because people will go out their way to either praise this man or hate this man. But there's a lot of people that seem like they just hate this man for no real reason. I get it. He ruined The Last Airbender, and After Earth was awful. But, hey, he's come back now. He's given us Old, Split, Knock at the Cabin, and he's on the way back. That's 3 pretty good movies. Say what you want about some of them, but 3 pretty good movies recently. So he's back on the way up. So give us a vote for which one you want. But until next time, my name is Dyl.
My name's Matt, and this is Fantasy Filmball.